for the meditation, for this moment together, and all the opportunities to come out of this, dependency on external things, so to speak. So this is a training that you don't have to do the whole day, but take moments in which you do that, because that's sufficient. That's enough. There's a plan, and it works perfectly, and it definitely is not my plan or your plan, but the plan is working perfectly. I always repeat this because it's so great to remember that. Like this, you're undergoing something here, and that's lovely. So, like I said in the beginnings, you have heard something, otherwise you would not be in this class. And that's the same with the class that we're listening to with Joel. So Joel speaks in this class to the group of 25 dedicated Infinite Way students that have been around for some time. And it's great to listen to that, especially in the beginning of the talk. He dives right in, so that's also the part that we're going to listen to. But I always like to introduce the video, or the audio in fact, a little bit, so that your ears are wide open to receive what is given. So Joel comes today with one thing, and it's not so easy to recognize. That's why I bring it up. It's not so easy to recognize that you're doing it or not doing it. But you might recognize this. Actually, I'm pretty sure that you will recognize it. And that has everything to do with the text that we read and the words that we use. You can see in the meditation, I saw that the word God, or Father, is changed into source. So Joel does these things too. It's not that Joel does that, but it's like, this is how it comes out. Instead of I and my Father are one, he says I and my source are one. So these are little changes, and that's very, well chosen, in the sense of there's a plan behind all of this. Even the ways that it's going to be expressed is chosen. So that's why in teaching this, which is pretty interesting to do so, because in fact you have to get out of the way and let that flow through you in order to express it. It will be expressed. It's not that I'm trying to convince you or that I'm trying to express something. And so, like I said, Joel uses in this talk almost like the practice that we have of using lines, for instance, I and my Father are one, to keep that close to you when you're in turmoil, when you're in anxiety, or all this. And he says, well, be careful with that, in the sense of don't make it like a ritual or a mantra that you're going to repeat all day long, as if it is some kind of magic formula that's going to do something for you, that is going to take something away from you that you don't want anymore, or something like that. He said, try not to do that. Try not to make a ritual out of the words that are being shared. And especially in moments when it's getting intense, or when you feel like, oh my God, what is going on? I have so much physical whatever going on. And you grasp one of those, to hold on tightly to that, so it can be your support. That would be like, that's almost the same as the tendency to pray to resolve issues, or to have your physicality being undone in its complications. So Joel says, in fact, don't depend on anything. It's like, don't depend on a certain method. Don't depend on using certain words. Don't depend on any of that. Don't put your dependency in any of these things, but go within and find the certainty there, and let that be what it is. And it's like that's the place where the work is being done, and where you can find what you are looking for. But see, if you use on a mental plane, if you use these phrases, if you use these formulas, these mantras, these whatever you use, then there's no space for a different experience. So your mind has already a solution and will not look for it. So this, in fact, what I always say before meditations too, is like, try to keep your mind as open as possible. Same as we're going to listen to Joel. Keep your mind as open as possible. Don't think anything about it. Don't depend on the words as if it's going to support you, in the sense that you can think about what support would be. Like, it's none of these things. This is coming from a whole different realm altogether. This is coming from a different dimension, supporting you and inviting you to be lifted out of this whole thought system of human limitation, of death, of pain, of disease, disaster, duality, all these Ds. Yeah, the 3D world, death, disaster and disease. So that's always easy for me to remind myself of the 3D dimension. Disease, disaster and death. Turn on your television and you'll see it. Or look what's going on in your mind. You'll see it. So the moments that you are open and receptive for light and love, for a different experience of yourself, for in fact coming into a different dimension altogether, even for an instant, is an amazing speed up for all the suffering that you otherwise would go through. So I'll come back to this all the time because it's so fundamental and so helpful to be aware of that. If that isn't a possibility in your mind, then you will not use it. And this is such a lovely thing to remind each other of. Like, to keep an open mind, not to fill in the blanks, not to assume anything, not to try to think your way out of your problems, not to find your certainty in thoughts or ideas or persons, just like we did in the meditation. It's like none of this will give you what you actually are looking for. And it doesn't exclude any of it at the same time, but it will work in a different way than you expect. Well, that's already very mystical in the way I talk about it. So that's great. Let it be mystical for a moment. So, like I said, this is about steps to this state in which you are lifted out of this three-dimensional state of being, because it's not real. Otherwise, there would be no use for getting out of it. If that would be a reality, then that would be all there is. But you know that it's not that. So don't try to look for anything there in order for something to be dissolved, like, for instance, your false identity, your ideas about yourself, and your, in fact, ignorance of truth. That is okay if that is going to be dissolved, and you have a good chance in doing that by practicing this, what I just shared. So Joel will share a lot in the first half hour. So it's a real invitation to prepare yourself, to open your mind as much as you can, to go beyond any point that you ever were in order to receive what is given. Because it is not about the words. It is not what you think it means. It is not about your intellectual response to what is being shared. None of that. So this is more tuning into a frequency of real love, so to speak, frequency of reality, of catching a glimpse of reality, of a real, like having a real moment together with Joel by listening to it, recognizing the common source, recognizing the love that is communicating by itself. So that is not so easy to transfer as an idea, but you get what I'm saying, and you're going to practice it probably in the next half hour when we listen to Joel. So it will be great, because it's like when you listen to it like that, when you open yourself up for this frequency that he is sharing, the words are still, say, helpful too, but it is not about that form. Say words are still like, say, one step away from truth. So you can experience truth directly, but it will not be in these words. So in fact, that is what Joel shares in the first half hour. So in order to be completely prepared for the half hour that we're going to listen to Joel, we have a little break. So you can do whatever you need to do in the 4 or 5 minutes that we take for that. So if you need to drink something, or who knows what you're going to do, you're welcome to do that. And in 5 minutes we start the video. And up to that time I will play a song. And so thank you so much for your attention so far and being part of this meditation in combination with listening to a tape. So thank you so much, and I'll stop the recording now, but of course I'm not going to go anywhere.